What is the crack? We're in Nurburgring GT this week and I've just set a server best. Let's dive into this week's track guide. So for those of you who are new to these track guides, I break it down into a couple of sections. The first section, I play my lap at full speed. It's going to be the fastest lap that I've done so far, including the mistakes and stuff, so you guys can spot exactly where, you know, the opportunities are, where I'm fast, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk you through as best I can during the full speed lap, but then we're going to, in the next section, we're going to break it down turn by turn. I'm going to show you exactly my braking point, throttle inputs, where I brake, how long I brake, all that kind of stuff, and we're really going to try and analyze where that all happens and try and verbalize that to you guys. Then the third section, the final section, I'm going to talk a little bit about racecraft and the setup. So as always, the last corner is really important. You can't really mess this up too much, but it is nice to get a nice wide approach, especially on your hot lap when you're trying to do a quali lap. Nice wide approach so that you can stay on that throttle for as long as possible. I was trying to do lap after lap here, so I didn't take that wide approach. So let's dive into it. So I actually hit the barrier there. Wasn't a great start to the lap. Just touched the barrier slightly. But knew I was going quick. I was on low fuel here, so we look out for the signs on the left hand side. We've got a 150 and the 100. 100 is where I brake and I stay nice and wide down to second gear and almost jump down off that apex. Nice and wide here. Third gear, look for that cone and commit to the throttle. Not full throttle straight away, but commit to the throttle. Third gear here, staying nice and wide to the left, as wide as you can, and discipline with the throttle here and use some of this runoff on the left hand side. That's perfectly legal. Look for the cones on the right hand side, brake just after the cones down to fourth gear, a little bit of that curb, probably go a little bit quicker there. Third gear here, this is a very crucial section. I'm not even sure if that is the best line, but it was nice for me, nice and consistent. Here, look for the extended curbing on the left and brake just before it, down to third gear and take a nice wide entry into this corner, because this is effectively a straight. Even though you've got an uphill left-hander or right-hander, look at my throttle inputs. I'm absolutely pinned flat to the mat. So it's very important that you get your setup to allow you to do that. So you've got green curbs on the left here, or on the right, sorry, down to third gear, up to fourth gear, and a disciplined coast into this corner and gun it down the straight. This is the biggest straight and the longest straight. There's going to be loads of overtaking here. You're not always going to get a run at the chicane like this. You've got the 150, 100. I brake around the 75. Nice and tight, and try and keep it balanced. Really difficult to get that right. And third gear around the last corner again. And I actually had a little bit of a wobble, so there's probably time to be gained there. But that was a 141.65. So let's dive into that again. Don't hit the barrier like I just did. And at the end of the straight, we'll pause it and I'll show you exactly where everything happens. So the signs that I was referring to, you've got a 150 here on the left. Then you've got the 100. I brake at the 100, so you can see my brake coming on here. This red bar is my brake, that's my accelerator. So I'm coming off the accelerator on the brake straight away. Really hard braking, and you can see on every downshift I just let off the brake a little bit. Second gear, and you want to get nice and quickly down off that hill. Look at the throttle input coming out of here, and as soon as I pass the apex, the throttle comes on. Don't pin the throttle, you're going to just spin it around. Nice and disciplined through here, a little bit of throttle. The difference between having a little bit of throttle going around this corner and backing off the throttle is absolutely massive. So you gain way more momentum, especially on the exit of the corner, by having a little bit of throttle pressed throughout that really difficult corner. A lot of people you will see using lots of this runoff, which is perfectly legal. I don't personally like it, just from my own line. I have nothing against it from a legality point of view. Nice and early on the brakes here. As for braking marker, I kind of don't really have a clear braking marker here. Let's see if we can find anything. So it's almost at the end of the green curb. Not a really clear braking marker for you guys. I would have liked to have been more over to the left here, but it all worked out. Look at my throttle inputs coming out here. So you do have a full throttle, little bit coast, and a little bit of throttle like in that earlier corner. You need to keep a little bit of that throttle dedicated. This is a very important corner. Keep an eye out for these cones on the right, and just after the cones, a quick dab of the brakes. And I could have actually gone slightly later there, not caught that curb, would have had slightly more time. This feels like an unnatural line, and you guys can tell me in the comments if it is, but it's really quick for me. So as soon as I kind of exit this corner, and as soon as you kind of feel like you can pin the throttle, I actually brake again, and down to third gear I coast a little bit. You can see I have no throttle input, very little, coast a little bit, and get that run out of here. This run out of here is super important. Downhill and really, really fast. Resist the temptation to switch up into sixth. And look for this extended curb on the left hand side. So see this extended curb? You want to brake just before that. Nice and hard on the brake down to third gear. I stay kind of wide. If you're in here, you're not going to get a great exit. If you're slightly out wide, you're going to get that cut across, because as with most high speed or most low speed corners, there's a straight after it, and this is effectively one massive straight. So keep an eye out for the curb on the right. That's almost your just after the curb on the right, that's your turn-in point. So just before, do you see the sign on the see the sign, the truck on the right hand side? Just before that, that's your turn-in point. Almost line up this apex with this Schumacher S sign, and you want to go flat out here. Don't be afraid to grab a bit of that curb. Now keep an eye out for the green part on the right hand side. Hard on the brakes down to third gear. In tighter there would have been better. Up to fourth gear here. Up to fourth gear, and I coast around here just to keep the car nice and balanced. Get that apex and gun it. You keep a relatively high amount of speed there. I think that is a good line. There may be better lines, I'm not 100% sure. 150 marker, 100 marker, just here in front of the wheels. I brake at the 75. You can see my tires are almost on the grass here. Brake hard, but I'm not actually braking full. Can probably get more out of the brakes there. See, not full. In tight to the left chicane. In tight to the right hand side. You don't want to get too tight because it'll bounce you all over the place. And in the last corner, a nice quick hard dab of the brake down to third gear and turn in and get a nice exit out of there. That wasn't a perfect exit, but you can see I am on the throttle nice and early. Had a little bit of a wobble and got out of there. A 141.657. Very, very happy with that. I think there's more time in it. This was my first 141. I think a 141.5 should be very doable, and I'd say some of the lads are probably going to do it at some stage when they do their couple of hundred practice laps. Other than that, racecraft, super, super important around here is to turn one. Turn one is going to be a kind of a make or break for some people, and not for the right reasons. Nobody's going to make their race in turn one unless they stay really, really wide and avoid carnage. In turn one, the ideal line is to stay wide, attack it late, and come down like this. The problem with that is when you stay out wide, you're inviting people to dive up the inside. So one thing that you could do is stay in tight, come out wide, and then go again. But what I will personally do, and I'm giving away my secrets here, if someone's behind me, I'm going to stay in tight, and I'm going to slow them down coming out of this corner. So I'm going to stay really, really tight. They can go around the outside if they want, but I'm going to go nice and tight, and wherever they are, I'm just going to park my car in front of them effectively, so that they have to go around me. You're not allowed, to weave in front of people, but you are allowed to place your car in front of people. So that's what I'm going to do. A lot of these sections are super technical, and it's very, very difficult to overtake. Corner exit is absolute key here, and that's where people are going to overtake you, or where you're going to overtake people. Not in any of these sections where they're corner after corner after corner. It's these type of sections where someone's going to get up alongside you, they're going to force you off your natural line, and they're going to overtake you. What you want to do is stick as close to your natural line, the line that you've practiced, as possible. If you do come off that line, and if you're not comfortable, again, I would recommend just letting somebody pass, because you're on a comfortable line and you don't want to compromise your race. You don't want to throw away your position just for, because there's a faster driver. You want to stick in it, stick with it, and finish out the race. This is another vitally important corner. And lots of people are going to mess up this corner. This is where you want to punish people. You want to absolutely capitalize here, but this straight is so long that if someone gets past you, you might be subject to a second round of draft. They might get if someone's beside you here, don't do it. Just like if they're idiotic enough to get beside you here, get on the inside, just let them go, because odds are if they're on your left here and they're trying to make this curb, they're going straight into this barrier over here anyway. They're probably not going to make the curb, or else they're going to really slow you down, but odds are they're just going to mess it all up. That's kind of my advice. As for setup, lower the car, aero up to the max, sort out your camber using something like Camber Extravaganza, and that's about it. Low fuel run, get your pressures right. I use Sidekick to get my pressures right, and that's about it for me. Thanks a million for watching the track guide, and I will see you Tuesday at 8 o'clock for my live stream. Cheers.